And welcome back as we grapple with formulating a stimulus aid package in response to the economic impact of COVID-19 here at home. Lawmakers in the United States are nearing a deal that could pump additional $400 billion in emergency funding into struggling sectors of the economy. This is after $7.8 billion of coronavirus spending bill in early March, followed by an over $2 trillion stimulus package signed into law later that month. The new bill focuses on additional money for small businesses, among other measures. This is what President Donald Trump said earlier on yesterday.
We're continuing to negotiate with the Democrats to get our great workers and small businesses all over the country taken care of. I think we're getting close to a deal. Could happen. Could happen. A lot of good work has been going on, and we could have an answer tomorrow. And we're going to see what exactly does take place. We're also looking at helping our hospitals and our rural hospitals who have been hurt very badly. The rural hospitals for a long time have not been treated properly. We're looking to help them and beyond. So we're looking at hospitals also as part of the package. And we'll see how that all comes out. But a lot of good things are happening, some very good negotiations. Just got off the phone with the Secretary of the Treasury, and we have some very good negotiations going on right now. And I think you could have a nice answer tomorrow, but we'll see.
Well, Sherwin, listening in there to Donald Trump, $450 billion in aid. What does this then mean? What this amount would be earmarked for, this new tranche?
Yeah, remember, it's coming on the back of the $7.8 trillion that was passed in emergency COVID-19 spending in early March, the $2.2 trillion that you refer to at the end of March. This is now to supplement part of that $2.2 trillion that went to small businesses. Some $377 billion was set aside for small businesses and what they're calling the payment protection campaign. Essentially, small businesses are allowed to keep staff on the payroll with these bridging forgivable loans that the federal government has earmarked for small businesses. But that fund, that 377, has run dry due to the popularity of that fund. And so lawmakers are now coming around a new $450 billion bill that will pump another $310 billion into that payment protection program for small businesses, but also put aside $75 billion for hospitals, for our frontline workers in terms of protective gear and etc. And another $25 billion, Aldrin, for testing and tracing. Remember, part of the big narrative in the United States right now is the reopening of state economies. We've seen some of the horses bolt already in Georgia, Florida, and some Republican-governed states. And having the ability, the capacity, both the funding and the people on the ground that are able to trace, to test, and to surveil is going to be very important for economies moving forward.
And let's talk about the autonomy of the $2 trillion measures that were passed at the end of March. What are some of the measures included in what was essentially the largest economic stimulus bill in modern history?
Yeah, I think the broad message to governments that are sort of grappling with how they address some of the economic impacts is, go big or go home. So $2.2 trillion passed in late March, Aldrin, and it was broken up into different elements. You have money for individuals and families, some $600 billion. Big businesses were able to access funds to the tune of $500 billion. Small businesses, as we have referenced, $377 billion initially, another $310 billion coming in the new bill. State and local governments. Remember, this is happening at a local level, the impact and the fight against COVID-19. States had not budgeted for the impacts of this virus. And so the implications are that the federal government is going to bail them out. And that was the first iteration. But as we understand it, states and municipalities need more money. And then public services and health, $179 billion. So I'll take one of those categories and just break it down for you very briefly, Aldrin. The funds for individuals, $603 billion. Essentially, people will get a direct payment of $1,200 directly into their accounts if they earned under $75,000, and that number reduces up to $99,000. If you earn more than $99,000, you don't get a stimulus check. Part of that funds for individuals is the temporary suspension of student loans. This will be music to the ears of many students in South Africa that have loans and are awaiting the president's pronouncement later. Borrowers with federally backed loans can request forbearance, a temporary suspension of their mortgage payments, and also that tranche did was expand unemployment benefits. You know that some 22 million people have filed for unemployment benefits in just the last month. So it's complicated, and it's a lot of money that's required.
And we've seen other countries also responding with stimulus packages. For instance, look at what's happening in Germany, being the host of countries, particularly in Europe and Asia, that have introduced these stimulus packages. What snapshot can you give us about how countries across the globe are responding to COVID-19?
So South Africa's government is not unique in this sense, right? We've given you examples in the United States. There's Germany. I'll run through Germany. But just very quickly, Japan has passed $990 billion worth of stimulus money in response to COVID-19. That's almost a fifth of that country's GDP. Singapore, the city of Singapore, city country, total stimulus, $41 billion. Malaysia, $57 billion. Indonesia, $27 billion. The government of Germany has passed an $810 billion stimulus bill, and this is to shore up social safety nets, unemployment benefits, to also help small businesses. $100 billion in loans to struggling businesses, 400 billion euros in loan guarantees to secure corporate debt for those companies that are at risk of defaulting. So it's really to shore up businesses, small businesses, and the social safety net. So very, very important part here. You know, economists tell us, Aldrin, that a prolonged recession would be much worse than spending the money that is required now. And, you know, given South Africa's particular situation, South Africa had entered a technical recession in early March before the impact of this. So this is a double whammy for the South African government, because they were still dealing with the debt burdens of various state-owned enterprises, in addition now to the COVID requirements. So it's going to be very interesting to hear from President Ramaphosa and how he threads this needle.
Yeah, certainly. And also looking at how the South African Reserve Bank warned that the economy will contract by at least 6.1%. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, thank you so much for your time. And with that said, we are counting down to President